I'm back. Just to remind you that I'm talking to Dr. Selim Jahan, Director of United Nations Development Reports. He has been with the United Nations for the last 22 years. He's an academic, went to Dhaka University, and that I can very proudly say that I also went to Dhaka University, but I was not a professor there. He was professor in head of the department, he was director of the economic unit, and he has taught at McGill. He obtained his PhD from McGill, taught at McGill, also taught at Oxford and Cambridge. Welcome. We were talking about human development for everyone. Economy is for the people, people not for the economy. This is a quotation that I picked up from somewhere, someone of your writings.
Right.
It appeared very nice. So it's like poetry. And I always ask the poet, what did he mean?
Okay.
To be or not to be?
To be or not to be, yes. That is the question.
Economy for the people, people not for economy.
I mean, what I tried to say there is that at the end of the day, economic activities, business activities, political activities ultimately have to raise the standard of living of people. They have to enhance human well-being. Now, when we say economy for the people, it basically means that people is the end, economy is just a means to that end. But sometimes what we say is that people for the economy, then you are basically looking at people as kind of a human capital only, which means that you are looking at people as an input to the production process. You are looking at people as an ingredient to economic activities. If you do that, then the economy will flourish, economy will grow, economy will maximize its growth process. But you cannot ensure that the fruits of growth would be equitably distributed or equitably enjoyed by people.
So for that you have to have a policy.
That's where you have to have a policy. Then that's where the policy come in, where the benefits of economic growth are translated into people's lives equitably. Because sometimes we have very fast growth, high growth, but the benefits and the fruits of growth are very much concentrated, for example, the upper 20% or the richest section of the people. So that is what is meant by the quotation that you have referred to. But thank you for picking up that quotation.
In 2016 report, and since all the reports come from you, significant progress made, but still deprivation exists. What areas did you have in your mind when you say significant progress made?
Right. We looked at the different aspects of human life. I mean, we talk about poverty, we can talk about health, we can talk about education, we can talk about security, we can talk about participation. I don't claim that the list that we have provided with terms of evidence is an exhaustive list. But the areas where we have looked at, for example, if we look at the income poverty, people who are below the income poverty line, over the years, for the last 20 years, every day 130,000 people have been lifted out of poverty, which is quite an achievement. But yet, there are about 1 billion people who are income poor. And the progress that I have referred to has been made possible by the rapid progress in China, which has 1.3 billion people. So that is one kind of a deprivation that we talked about. If you look at, for example, under 5 mortality rate, every minute 11 children under 5 are dying somewhere in the world. That is quite a deprivation.
Is it for want of nutrition?
It is
medical facilities?
It is, I think it's a combination of all these things. Partly it is nutrition. Lots of children are stunted, malnourished. 24% of malnourished children die every year. Part of it is access to health services.
Is this specific to any particular area in the world?
I'm sorry?
Is this specific to any particular area in the world?
I think it is specific to 2 regions of the world. One is South Asia, the other one is Africa. In the African case, the major problem is, of course, the access to health services. I mean, if you go to countries like Chad or Rwanda, sometimes you would see mothers carrying their children on their back, and it takes about 1.5 days to go from where they live to the nearest, mind you, nearest health facilities. In the South Asian case, it is intergenerational, because lots of our mothers or pregnant women, they suffer from anemia. And when they suffer from anemia and malnutrition, basically that kind of anemic behavior and malnutrition are then are reflected in the children. So a lot of children in South Asia are born with low birth weight. When you are born with low birth rate, there is a reflection of lack of nutrition, but you are also not immune to different kind of diseases. So as a result, the under 5 mortality or infant mortality rate is quite high in South Asia. Similarly, the other one that I would try to refer is the maternal mortality rate. We all know that, look, childbirth is a natural process. Women should not die from that particular process. But yet, every hour 33 mothers die because of different complications related to childbirth. In some cases, the births are not attended by skilled personnel. In some cases, the mothers themselves are malnourished and that kind of thing. In some cases, they don't get the kind of the proper care that they should have got. So these are significant deprivations. I mean, look, Mr. Ahmed, we are living in a world where there have been progress in information technology. We are living in a world where the world is more prosperous compared to, say, 50 years ago. We are living in a world where the life expectancy and mortality rate have decreased because of, for example, invention of antibiotics and improvement in public health. Yet in this world, we are seeing that children are dying. We are seeing that we are losing mothers. We are seeing that some of these phenomena are very specific and quite high among certain groups of people, people in rural areas, indigenous people, persons with disabilities, women. And I think that kind of a discrimination against some of the specific groups in every society, whether it is a developed world or the developing world, is kind of deprivations that we should avoid.
Does UNDP have an agenda of improving the doctor or paramedics and patient ratio improve, because you are talking about the unavailability of medical facilities, the people who could, midwives who could help deliver the babies.
Now, we are working in different countries. I mean, we are working, I mean, you refer to the patient-doctor ratio. There is also the patient-nurse ratio. And there is also how many patients are there per hospital bed. So in the health areas, these are indicative of the quality of health services. So whether a doctor is treating 20 people or 2,000 people makes a hell of a difference. Similarly, whether you have enough bed for patients who are coming in make a difference. The other area where we are working on is in the education system, the class size. In many
just
countries,
like doctor and
absolutely, it's the same thing. I mean, you don't need rocket science to understand it. That teacher who teaches a class of 60 definitely cannot provide the kind of attention to every student vis-a-vis a teacher who is teaching a class of 20. So one of the issues that we are working on at a generic level is to improve the quality of services in health, in education, in water, in sanitation, because I think that's important. And quality is important mainly because from the equity point of view, you know, as we all know, that sometimes the services, whether it's the educational services or health services, are better in urban areas because you have all kinds of facilities there, but then they're not as good as rural areas. So even if you say, well, we have schools in rural areas, you may not have teachers there. You have healthcare centers in rural areas, you may not have doctors or the medicines. So I think those are some of the important issues to reduce the kind of the inequalities that we see in the development process.
What is your 2030 agenda?
The 2030 development agenda is basically a development agenda for sustainable development. And when we talk about sustainability, at least when I talk about sustainability, I look at it from 3 angles. And I, with all due respect to my friends on the environmental camp, I don't see sustainability only from the environmental angle. The environment is important. The whole question of the intergenerational equity is important with regard to natural resources. Our future generation should have the same kind of access, the same kind of natural resources as we enjoy. But for me, the whole issue of sustainability should also be viewed from political sustainability, social and cultural sustainability. In many countries, many societies, because of inequalities, social inequalities, inequalities among groups of people, the social cohesion is deteriorating. And if there is a deterioration in social cohesion, we can say that that particular society may not be sustainable, because a lot of conflicts in many societies arise from the fact that different groups have different kind of access to natural resources.
Right, we are getting towards the end of the program. You have been with UNDP and United Nations for a long time, see. Can you, after all these years, all good work that you have done, and the UNDP, can you just sit back and relax and say that, we have achieved something and everything is going on the right track?
Very important question. I mean, one is at a personal level, one is more of a professional, or with the groups of people.
The organizational.
Yeah, the organization one. I would say that at a personal level, I have always felt good, and it satisfies me that I have been involved in making a difference in people's life. I'm not here to change the world. So I have defined my world.
Well, individuals can't.
I'm sorry?
Individuals can't.
You individuals can't. So I have defined my world in a way that this is the kind of the people I shall work with, this is the areas I will work with. And with that particular view, I can say that after spending 22 years, I made a difference in lives of certain people. I also made a difference in terms of, through my research and academic work, to change the kind of the mandate, to change the kind of the analytical framework, the development paradigm a little bit. In development, it's not the lack of resources, it's not the lack of strategies which are critical, it is the mindset.
Yes.
And to change the mindset is the greatest challenge in development. And I think professionally, organizationally, and personally, some dents have been made there.
Well, Dr. Selim Jahan, thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
wish you good luck in your good work.
Thank you.
And the UNDP.
I have enjoyed the program. Thank you for inviting me.
Not at all. It was a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us, and I hope that you've enjoyed the show as much as we have. And it was a pleasure having Dr. Selim Jahan. We don't get such people every day. So same time, same channel next week with another distinguished guest. In the meantime, take care.